Welcome back to the deep dive, where, as always, we like to take a look at what's really going on beneath the surface of the news. So today, we're going to zero in on U.S. small businesses in 2025.
Okay.
You know, we got this really fascinating report, The Evolving Landscape of U.S. Small Businesses, Challenges and Opportunities in 2025. And kind of on first glance, you know, it seems to paint like a pretty hopeful picture, you know, a shift from all that recession talk to growth.
Yeah.
But you and I both know things are rarely that simple.
Right.
So today, I think our mission is to unpack some of the key nuances, right, for everyone listening. You know, we'll extract the critical insights, try to really understand what are the real challenges and the genuine opportunities facing these businesses.
Yeah.
Because these businesses, they're essential players in our economy, right? They
Yeah,
really are.
Absolutely.
So I think, you know, let's cut through the headlines and try to get to what really matters for understanding where small businesses are right now.
Yeah, I think it is striking how quickly the overall sentiment has shifted. You know, you're right. The broad narrative coming from business leaders is leaning towards optimism.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a feeling that the economic headwinds of last year are easing a bit, helped along, of course, by those Federal Reserve interest rate adjustments in late 2024.
Right.
So growth is definitely the dominant theme you hear being discussed everywhere you turn.
Yeah.
However, I think, you know, what's really interesting is when you start to focus specifically on small business owners themselves.
Right.
While many express confidence in their own businesses, you know, their prospects for the year ahead.
Yeah.
The Small Business Index for Q1 2025 actually showed a bit of a dip. So it creates this intriguing contrast, right? We have this generally positive outlook for the wider economy.
Yeah.
Yet some tangible underlying concerns among the very businesses that form its backbone.
It's like the main economic forecast is sunny, but you look out your window, you know, at the local level, and there's a few more clouds than you might expect.
Right.
So, okay, let's dig into those potential clouds.
Okay.
And I think a good place to start is with what the report flags as kind of the major issue, which is inflation.
Yeah.
This isn't just like a background hum. This is hitting hard.
It really is. Inflation has become a very real and pressing concern.
Yeah.
And it's pushing, you know, many small businesses to make some really difficult choices.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing a widespread need to increase prices. And I think almost universally, businesses are scrutinizing their operating costs very carefully.
Right.
Looking for any way to trim those expenses.
Yeah.
I think what's significant here is the expectation that these elevated costs, they aren't temporary, you know? They're projected to persist throughout 2025.
Right.
And I think for you, you know, the listener thinking about your own spending, when everyday essentials become more expensive, that naturally impacts how much you might spend at your favorite local bookstore or independent coffee shop.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it seems like some sectors are feeling this pressure, you know, more acutely than others.
Yeah.
The report calls out finance, retail, construction services, and professional services specifically. And then on top of that, of course, we can't forget about the potential for new tariffs to kind of add another layer of expense on top of everything else.
Yeah.
There's something else that I noticed in the report, too, and it really caught my eye, and that was that the average monthly interest payments on small business credit cards are creeping up.
Yeah.
So it really is this like convergence of financial pressures all happening at the same time.
It is. And I think the report makes a really critical connection here. You know, it highlights that there's a growing worry where inflation concerns are now aligning with increasing concerns about revenue. So what this suggests is that businesses aren't just facing higher costs, but they might also be experiencing a slowdown in customer demand.
Right.
You know, perhaps because consumers are becoming more sensitive to price increases or simply have less disposable income.
Right.
So it's a really tricky situation, you know, for any business to navigate.
Yeah.
How do you maintain profitability when costs are up and customers might be pulling back a bit?
Right. Right. Absolutely. So let's move from those financial pressures to another challenge that seems to be ongoing, and that's supply chain disruptions.
Yeah.
The report points out that we're, you know, past the peak chaos of the pandemic, but there are still some significant issues.
Yeah.
due to all the global uncertainties and trade complexities, conflicts, piracy, I mean, you name it.
It's a whole range of factors, and I think what's really important to understand is just how interconnected the global economy truly is. An event in one region can have these significant knock-on effects globally.
Right.
The situation in the Red Sea, I think, is a prime example.
Yeah.
Disruptions to these crucial shipping lanes can quickly translate into higher transportation costs and delays in receiving goods.
Right.
And then, of course, you layer on top of that the ongoing uncertainties around international trade, potential tariffs. It just adds to the complexity.
Absolutely. So how are small businesses trying to tackle these ongoing supply chain issues? I know the report mentions this kind of strategic shift towards reshoring and nearshoring.
Right.
Which is basically bringing production or sourcing closer to home.
Yeah.
Which makes sense in theory, but even with those shifts, the report emphasizes that effective inventory management remains a really critical skill.
Yeah, it really is. And I think building true resilience into their supply chains, it's a significant undertaking for these businesses. It requires careful planning. It requires diversifying their network of suppliers and often making, substantial upfront investments.
Right.
While this trend towards reshoring and nearshoring, it could offer long-term stability and some real benefits for domestic industries. It's a complex transition for many smaller players.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to another major theme that keeps popping up, which is the challenge of labor shortages and overall workforce management.
Right.
It sounds like finding and retaining talent is just this constant pain point.
It truly is. And the report really identifies this as a leading concern.
Yeah.
And it's a multifaceted problem.
Yeah.
It's not just about having, vacant positions. It's about attracting those candidates with the right skills and then creating an environment where they want to stay long term.
Right.
And I think demographic trends, particularly the large number of baby boomers entering retirement, are contributing significantly to these talent gaps.
Yeah.
And while discussions around immigration policies often touch on this issue, the immediate challenge for small businesses is how do they compete for a limited pool of workers?
Right. And to compete, they're having to get creative, right? I mean, the report points to increased wages, more flexible work arrangements, enhanced benefits packages. I mean, as just common strategies to try to attract and keep employees.
Right.
It's a competitive landscape out there.
It is. And the forecast is that these tight labor markets are likely to continue throughout 2025. And interestingly, the report even notes that for some business owners, concerns about the quality of available labor have now surpassed even their worries about inflation.
Wow.
And then, of course, these rising labor costs contribute directly to those overall operational expenses we discussed earlier. So it creates sort of a compounding effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've looked at the rising costs, the supply chain issues, the tight labor market. Now let's turn our attention to something that impacts everyone, and that's changes in how consumers are behaving.
Right.
It sounds like people are being a bit more careful with their spending.
I think that's a key insight from the report, With the cost of everyday essentials, things like food and fuel going up.
Yeah.
Consumers are understandably becoming more selective about where their discretionary income goes.
Yeah.
And the report highlights that there was a noticeable dip in holiday spending at small businesses, which is, I think a clear indication of this shift in priorities.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the amount being spent, it's also about how consumers are spending and what they're prioritizing in their purchases.
Right. And I think the report emphasizes that businesses really need to refine their online marketing strategies, in what's becoming an increasingly crowded digital environment.
Yeah.
And just having a basic website isn't enough anymore.
No, it's not.
Consumers they expect a smooth and integrated experience.
Right.
Whether they're interacting online or in person.
Exactly. They want the ability to browse products online and pick them up locally. Or perhaps, see something in a physical store and then easily purchase it online later.
Right.
And furthermore, I think there's a growing emphasis on sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Yeah.
Consumers are increasingly making purchasing decisions based on whether a business's values align with their own. And the demand for more personalized products and services continues to grow.
So it sounds like a real shift in consumer priorities.
It is.
They're focusing on value and necessities. But at the same time, this could be an opportunity for small businesses to really emphasize their local roots and ethical practices as a way to differentiate themselves.
That's a critical observation, While competing solely on price might be challenging,
Yeah.
small businesses can leverage those authentic community connections
Yeah.
and their commitment to values as a unique selling proposition.
Right, absolutely. So that's the challenging side of the coin, but the report also points to some significant opportunities.
Right.
So let's explore those, starting with the ever-expanding realm of e-commerce and digital presence.
Yeah.
And no surprises here. This is still a huge factor.
It's absolutely essential,
Yeah.
and its importance just continues to grow.
Yeah.
The report stresses that for small businesses in 2025,
Yeah.
having a robust online presence is no longer optional.
Right.
It's a fundamental requirement for survival and growth.
Right.
And it goes far beyond just having a basic website.
Yeah.
Businesses need to actively engage with their customers where they are,
Yeah.
which means effective online marketing and a strong presence on social media platforms.
Yeah, and the report specifically calls out TikTok and Instagram as really effective tools, not just for building brand awareness,
Right.
but for directly driving sales.
Yeah.
So it's that blurring line where your social media becomes a direct sales channel.
Exactly. Your social media presence isn't just for, sharing updates or pretty visuals anymore.
Right.
It's become a virtual storefront.
Yeah.
And I think the report underscores the necessity of having a mobile-friendly website equipped with strong e-commerce functionalities. Right. If customers can't easily browse and buy on their smartphones,
Yeah.
businesses are likely missing out on significant sales.
Right.
So that investment in your online presence has to be strategic.
Yeah.
Focusing on driving sales, enhancing brand visibility, and fostering those crucial customer relationships.
Okay, now moving beyond just, having an online store.
Yeah.
The report highlights the transformative potential of technology adoption and innovation. And there's a particular buzz around AI.
There is.
It sounds like AI is becoming increasingly accessible to businesses of all sizes.
It is, and what's so compelling is how AI is becoming more user-friendly and affordable for small businesses.
Yeah.
The report outlines a range of practical applications,
Yeah.
from enhancing customer service through AI-powered chatbots to streamlining internal operations like brainstorming new ideas or summarizing, lengthy documents.
Right.
It's about boosting overall productivity and efficiency.
Yeah.
And there's considerable optimism about AI's capacity to fuel future growth for these businesses. For example, a small marketing firm could use AI to analyze vast amounts of data to identify the most effective advertising strategies, something that would have been incredibly time-consuming and expensive just a few years ago.
Right, but with this increased reliance on technology, there's also a crucial consideration, isn't there?
There is.
The report quickly follows up the discussion on AI with the vital importance of cybersecurity.
Absolutely. As small businesses become more digitally integrated in their operations, they also inherently become more vulnerable to cyber threats.
Right.
So protecting sensitive customer data and maintaining their trust is paramount. So investing in robust cybersecurity measures is no longer just a good idea. It's a fundamental necessity for long-term viability.
Right.
Think of a small e-commerce business.
Yeah.
A data breach could not only lead to, significant financial losses, but also, irreparably damage their reputation.
Right. And beyond AI and cybersecurity, the report also mentions other impactful technologies like 5G, for faster connectivity and remote collaboration tools for distributed teams.
Yeah.
As well as just, digital tools for general efficiency in areas like financial management.
Right.
It sounds like technology is increasingly becoming a real equalizer.
It is.
Potentially allowing smaller companies to compete more effectively with larger corporations.
Yeah, that's the exciting potential. These technologies can empower small businesses to operate more efficiently.
Yeah.
Reach wider markets.
Yeah.
And ultimately be more competitive in the broader marketplace.
Right. And another interesting opportunity the report highlights is this growing focus on strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
And diversification.
Right.
It sounds like businesses are increasingly looking beyond their own internal resources for for growth and resilience.
Precisely. The report indicates that there's a real proactive approach.
Yeah?
Where small businesses are actively exploring, collaborations with other companies and making targeted investments to fuel growth.
Yeah.
And enhance their resilience.
Right.
Diversifying their product and service offerings is also identified as a key strategy to better meet those evolving consumer demands we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
And furthermore, there's a growing recognition of the potential for mutually beneficial relationships between larger and smaller enterprises.
Right.
Including things like mentorship programs and collaborative projects.
Right. It's not just about forming partnerships. It's about exploring new geographic markets within the U.S. And even considering mergers and acquisitions for some.
Yeah.
Plus, the report touches on the increasing importance of diversifying their sourcing and fulfillment networks.
Right.
To strengthen their supply chain against future disruptions. It sounds like a very proactive and multifaceted approach to building long-term stability.
Exactly. It reflects a growing understanding that in today's, dynamic business environment, collaboration and external support can provide invaluable advantages.
Now, to make these concepts a bit more concrete, the report includes some brief but insightful examples of small business resilience in action. Essentially mini case studies. Could you give us a quick overview of some of those examples?
Sure. We see a local restaurant successfully adapting to rising inflation by prioritizing local sourcing of ingredients and significantly expanding its online ordering and delivery capabilities. There's a boutique retail shop using engaging social media content and offering unique curated products to counter the trend of reduced consumer spending. We also see a small manufacturing company bringing some of its production back to the U.S. To mitigate the risks associated with tariffs and overseas supply chain issues.
Makes sense.
And then a service-based business that's leveraging AI-powered tools to automate routine tasks, freeing up their employees to focus on more complex work amidst, ongoing labor shortages.
Right.
We have a tech startup utilizing IT staff augmentation, essentially bringing in external IT specialists on a project basis to manage their technology needs in a cost-effective way. A nonprofit organization streamlining its operations by adopting cloud-based software solutions. And even a local brewery is diversifying its product line by introducing non-alcoholic beverages to cater to growing health-conscious consumer preferences.
It sounds like the recurring themes across these success stories are agility, the ability to adapt quickly, really understanding and engaging with their customers, and strategically leveraging technology.
Precisely. These examples, while concise, really, I think, highlight the innovative and proactive spirit that's driving many small business owners today.
Absolutely. So we can't discuss the resilience of small businesses without acknowledging the crucial support they receive from both government initiatives and their local communities. So let's start with government programs.
Okay.
The Small Business Administration, or SBA, is mentioned quite a bit in the report.
It is.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through some of the key ways that the SBA is supporting small businesses?
Sure. The SBA plays a pivotal role in supporting small businesses through a variety of financial and other programs. And the report highlights the 7A loan program as one of the most widely used, offering, flexible financing for a range of needs, like working capital, equipment purchases, and real estate. Then there's the 504 loan program, which is designed to provide fixed-rate financing for major assets like land and buildings, making it easier for businesses to invest in their long-term growth. And then for very small businesses and startups, the microloan program offers access to smaller amounts of capital, often up to $50,000. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or EIDL program, provides crucial support for businesses recovering from declared disasters. And then finally, the State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP, helps small businesses with the costs associated with exporting the goods and services.
And I know that the report also notes that the SBA provides resources for businesses facing economic hardship. Even though the COVID-19 EIDL Hardship Accommodation Plan concluded earlier this year, back in March of 2025. So it's good to know that there are still avenues for assistance available.
Absolutely. And beyond, the SBA's direct lending programs, there's a diverse landscape of grant opportunities available,
Yeah.
often targeted at specific industries or demographic groups. And the report gives some excellent examples, such as the Halstead Grant, specifically for emerging jewelry artists, the Action Opportunity Fund, which supports underserved entrepreneurs, Amazon's Black Business Accelerator, aimed at helping Black-owned businesses grow, the Amber Grant Foundation, which provides grants to women entrepreneurs, and even America's Seed Fund, known as the Small Business Innovation Research, or SBIR, and Small Business Technology Transfer, or STTR programs, which support tech startups.
So this really illustrates the breadth of potential funding sources available.
It does.
And of course, we can't forget about the broader governmental landscape, things like tax policies and regulatory changes. All of that can have a significant impact on small businesses. The report mentions a desire among many small business owners for simplification of the tax code and an extension of the small business deduction.
Yeah, those are indeed key policy areas that can directly influence, the financial health and the administrative burden faced by small businesses. Streamlining regulations and providing tax relief can free up resources that businesses can then reinvest in growth and job creation.
Okay, so let's shift our focus from government support to the role of local communities. It sounds like that connection between small businesses and their local customer base is absolutely vital.
It's fundamental. The report emphasizes that the success and sustainability of small businesses are deeply intertwined with the support they receive from their local communities and individual consumers. The shop local movement really does have a significant economic impact. As money spent at local businesses tends to recirculate within the community at a much higher rate compared to spending at large national chains.
And it's not just about the economic impact. Small businesses often contribute significantly to their local communities in other ways.
They do.
Through charitable donations, volunteer efforts, just general community involvement.
Absolutely. They're often the heart and soul of their local areas. Contributing not only to the economy, but also to the social fabric.
Yeah. And the report provides some very practical ways that consumers can actively support their local businesses, from simply choosing to shop and dine locally, to recommending their favorite spots to friends, writing positive online reviews, participating in community events hosted by local businesses. So it really underscores that vital symbiotic relationship between the community and its small businesses.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've examined the current landscape and some of the opportunities. Let's look ahead now. What potential future trends does the report highlight, and what kind of impact might we anticipate? Let's start with the broader economic trends.
Sure. Well, the report it anticipates continued overall economic growth, which is generally a positive sign. However, it also raises a significant point about the potential for accelerating inflation. Particularly in light of, proposed tax cuts and the possibility of increased tariffs. So the future trajectory of inflation will undoubtedly be a major factor influencing business strategies and consumer behavior. The potential impact of higher tariffs on international supply chains is a real concern, as it could lead to increased costs for a wide range of goods. The report even touches on the risk of stagflation, a period of slow economic growth combined with high inflation, which would create a particularly challenging environment for small businesses. And of course, the monetary policy decisions made by the Federal Reserve regarding interest rates will continue to play a crucial role in shaping the economic landscape.
So it sounds like navigating economic uncertainty will continue to be a key challenge for small business owners.
It will.
What about technological advancements? That seems to be an area of constant evolution.
Absolutely. And the report reinforces the idea that that AI will become even more deeply integrated
Right.
into various aspects of business operations. And as it becomes more accessible and affordable,
Yeah.
we're likely to see, even wider adoption among small businesses.
Yeah.
Automation, driven by AI and other digital tools
Yeah.
will be increasingly important for enhancing efficiency and managing costs.
Right.
And as we've discussed, the need for robust cybersecurity
Yeah.
will only intensify. The trend of utilizing IT staff augmentation for flexible tech expertise is also expected to persist. Ultimately, the report concludes that a business's ability to effectively embrace and leverage digital technologies will be a significant factor in determining its future success.
Makes sense. Adapt to the digital world or risk falling behind. Now, finally, what does the report foresee regarding those ever-changing consumer preferences?
Well, the demand for more personalized products and services is expected to continue its upward trend, which will require businesses to become even more adept at using data and technology to tailor their offerings to individual customer needs. The importance of sustainability and ethical practices in consumer purchasing decisions is also likely to grow even further. E-commerce will undoubtedly continue its expansion, making a strong and user-friendly digital presence non-negotiable.
Right.
And the gig economy may continue to influence workforce strategies and create new models for service delivery. So the core message here is that businesses that stay closely attuned to these evolving consumer preferences and adapt their strategies accordingly will be best positioned for long-term success and competitiveness.
So to bring it all together, U.S. small businesses in 2025 are operating in a truly dynamic environment.
They are.
There are certainly significant hurdles to navigate, from persistent inflation to ongoing labor challenges. But there are also substantial opportunities to seize, particularly in the digital space and through strategic collaborations.
Right.
So it really underscores the idea that agility, a commitment to innovation, and a deep understanding of both the economic climate and the evolving needs and preferences of their customers will be absolutely essential for success.
I think that's a very, very accurate and insightful summary. It's a complex picture, but one that's filled with both considerable challenges to overcome and significant potential pathways to success.
So for you, the listener, as you consider all of this, what specific adjustments might you anticipate seeing from your favorite local businesses in the coming year? Will your neighborhood bakery finally launch that online ordering system?
Right.
Will your local clothing boutique start highlighting their sustainable sourcing practices more prominently?
Yeah.
It's definitely something to watch for.
And perhaps, on a broader level, the resilience and adaptability of the small business sector are not just about the survival of individual enterprises. Right. They serve as a crucial indicator of the overall health and adaptability of the entire U.S. economy.
Yeah.
So what role do you, the listener, see yourself playing in supporting this vital and dynamic part of our economic future?
Yeah.
It's a question that's certainly worth pondering.
Indeed. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today until our next exploration.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
You too.